All right, this week on Camera Talk, we are going back to the fatherland.
I am your father.
Deutschland. Carl Zeiss Jena. This is the Pancolar 50mm 1.8. Very famous, very legendary in vintage lens world. You know what we're talking about, mister? I didn't think so. But anyway, you're going to find out. By the end of this video, you're going to know all about the Pancolar. So, let's find out together. Let's get it on.
Here I am, Vietnam. Rain is always coming down.
This is Camera Talk with Dr. Scott and Dylan. That's right, here we are with another week of Camera Talk, and we are back in Deutschland, the fatherland. That's right. It's where lens history was making history over the last 100 years.
I see nothing.
And it continues to do so, by the way. But what we're focusing on this week is another one of my vintage lens collection legends. And this is the Carl Zeiss Jena, to be specific about where it was produced, in the town of Jena. And this is the Pancolar. It's the 50mm 1.8. And you may think, oh, 1.8 is nothing special, you know. Why is it a 1.4 or 1.2? Well, 1.8 was actually pretty good. There's no reason to think that a 1.8 is not going to be valuable to you as a photographer. Now, the Pancolar has a bit of a history too. In the 1950s, the race was on between, you know, Carl Zeiss and Leica and Canon and Nikon and everybody else to try to come up with the fastest 50mm. Now, of course, Leica came up with their Summicron, the 50mm f2. And everybody was working hard on their own version. Carl Zeiss came up with the Pancolar 50mm f2 as well. And it wasn't until the 1960s or mid 60s when we finally had a breakthrough in that, at least for Carl. Not Carl specifically, Carl Zeiss, the company. In 1965, they came up with the 1.8. Now, from 1965 to 1969, the 1.8 was the zebra version. So it was the same lens as this, but it was in a zebra version. And you've seen photos of those, of course. They're pretty legendary in their own right. And one of the things that lens manufacturers were doing in the day to get the biggest bang for the buck out of their glass was doping it with thorium. Thorium, do you know what thorium is? It's radioactive, mister. That's right. It'll melt your skin and burn your eyes out and all that evil, nasty stuff. So it's radioactive. So from 1965 to 1969. And then they decided, all right, enough of that. So they developed what we have before you today. Now, of course, there's an adapter on there, not really this big of a lens. It's pretty standard for a 50mm. So, from 1969 through to 1991, there were two versions of this. Actually, three versions of this. And, you know, the rest is history. I mean, the markings on here, actually this is an early rendition, it's only 3,154 is the serial number, and there were millions of these things made, so this is one of the first ones. Yeah, you're getting everybody's attention, I know, mister. Oh, what about me? What about me? I'm so important.
Yeah, baby!
So this one has a white MC, which is multi-coated, you know, and of course Carl Zeiss is always famous for their coating, but even then, you know, in late 60s, early 70s, the coating wasn't that good. So it does still suffer from ghosting, flaring. Can be some issues with under the right circumstances. So use a hood. That's right, use a hood, mister. Fixes a lot of problems, yeah? especially once you lose contrast, kind of looks like a pretty sucky picture. So use the hood. The chromatic aberrations were pretty well controlled. Again, the engineers working at Carl Zeiss were, some of the best at their craft. So therefore, they were pretty good at that kind of stuff. Now, it's a decent build quality. It's not the best in the world. There are some loose clicking things on here. We're not sure where that's coming from. You have to move, you go like this, silent. But with my fingers, the aperture ring, which is very well clicked. You hear that, it's, you can hear it quite easily and feel it quite easily as well. So if you memorize your aperture settings, you can just click them and count the clicks and you won't have to visually see them. Another difference is this lens also goes from 1.8 to 22. A lot of the lenses of the day only went to f16, so it's another thing. So the build quality was pretty decent. Again, the aperture ring, not bad. It has a relatively smooth focusing ring, but, and we know all about the big buts.
Like big butts, and I cannot lie.
Lubricants weren't the greatest in the day too, especially in East Germany. They were getting pretty cheap with their lubricants, so a lot of these lubricants will dry out over time. And this is an example of one where, to a certain point, the focusing is rather smooth, but as soon as I get to the closer focus, it gets really tight. So again, that's a victim of dry lubrication.
What he said.
And we don't like that, do we? So, anyway, decent build quality. Can't complain about that. Image quality, though, legendary, as they say. It's known for its sharpness. It's got punchy colors, great contrast. The bokeh is from okay to good to very good in that range. Again, depending on the situation. So, as I said, there's a lot of very positive feedback on the Pancolar. And it's very economical. I mean, like I said, there's millions of these things out there, so they're pretty cheap. So bang for the buck, you're getting a lot of quality for very little price. So, hey, can't complain about that. One of the engineering breakthroughs came with this lens as well. A lot of the Gaussian standard, the three elements cemented together and whatnot. They broke, break them, but they did not cement the rear group. And so far they probably through trial and error discovered, what now they call an air lens. So they separate the lenses elements within the barrel with a specific measured pocket of air, which acts as its own lens. And it helps in overall correcting the entire system. So it was a pretty cool breakthrough at the time. Instead of adding more elements, let the air act as an element itself and have an effect on how light transitions through the lens. So very cool. Other than that, was there anything else I wanted to say? Other than that, how about the specs on this thing? Since I just talked about elements. Well, it's 6 elements in 5 groups, again, which is, kind of standard for the day. Usually it's 6 elements in 4 groups, but again, because breaking it apart, 6 elements in 5 groups. It has a close focus of 35 centimeters, which is pretty darn close and pretty darn cool for a 50 millimeter. I mean, you look at Leica's, because it's a rangefinder, I mean, their close focus is 70 and sometimes a meter for 50. But this is 35, so very cool. It's right in there with the Flectagon as far as close focus goes. So again, very cool that you can get that close with a 50 millimeter. So I'll show you samples of that later. But very cool. 6 blades, not so cool. but they are curved, so they kind of help with the roundness of the bokeh as you're stopping down. But still, that was also very standard in the day. 6 bokeh blades was kind of a thing. And it's not heavy, you know, 223 grams. Not the lightest thing either, but it's not bad. So that was the specs. That was kind of everything I could think of. Oh, the mounts. These things, this one here is an M42 mount. It's the more sought after version. They also come in an Exacta and a Praktica B. So those again account for the different versions of these. As I said, there were 3. There's the white MC, the red MC, and then the final version, which actually was designed just for the Praktica B camera. It's a shorter version of this as well. So can I recommend this lens? Yes. Yes, for sure. And as I said, there's probably a bunch of YouTube videos about the Pancolar talking very positive things about it. So so yes, get yourself a copy. They're cheap. I mean, you know, for under $100, you can get these things, and you know, and they have very good quality for their day. As I said, it's really decent. Yeah, is there anything you'd like to say? Would you like to put a little plug in for people to donate cookies to you? Cookies, yeah. So let's get you some photos. I'm going to mount this on my Sony A7R II, and what I always do is get a shot of the nameplate on the camera that's recording this video, which is a Canon M50, and the kit lens, which is a 15-45, and you know, I try to focus as best I can on the writing or the letters on the nameplate, just to show you what it looks like from less than 2 meters away. So let me do that. Let me get as focused in as I can here. As I said, the focusing ring is a tad bit. Get out, you weirdo. No wonder I'm like, where's this fog coming from? Don't mess with Daddy's camera when he's trying to focus. Yeah, I can't take you anywhere, mister. So anyway, let's get this right here. 1, 2, 3. That's right. Let's give everybody a shot at 5.6 just to show you again what it looks like at that aperture. So again, zip in, and it is already, again, no focus shift, it's already in focus. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, holy delayed reaction, buddy. Yeah. So that's the shot. That's the shot of the lens from here. Now let's get you some shots of Mr. Video Diva here, Dylan, at what? 1.8? Yeah, let's get him 1.8. And let's get you some samples at 5.6. And let's get you some samples of random stuff, right? We always take shots of random things here and there just to show you things other than you know who. What else we could take pictures of. So here's some random stuff right here. All right, good. And that was pretty much all I wanted to say about this lens. Can I recommend it? Yes, we already talked about that, right? Highly recommended. Would you buy one if you had the chance? Yes! Well, at least one, right? Yes. So, how about our little plug for our software? Software? Yes, it is software. It's photo editing software, and it's called Luminar. Luminar AI and Luminar Neo. It's a cool bit of software. You can use it as a plug-in for any of the other name brand ones out there, the Lightrooms and Capture ones and so forth, or as a standalone, as I do. Because I'm not a professional photographer, so I'm not paid to take photos, so I can take my time or edit them any way I want. So I don't need any fancy schmancy stuff, and I just go with Luminar. It works for me. $80 is all it costs. It's very economical, right? And if you want to save, stop. What are you doing pulling your pants off, mister? You're on YouTube here. You can't get naked. Well, not so you're naked, a diaper under there, but still. You distracted me. What are we talking about? Luminar. $10 off, right? If you want $10 off, click below. Click below and you'll save $10 if you buy a copy through our link. And we get a little kickback from that too, right? Yeah! Kickback! Yeah! What's he gonna do with his $10? You already know the answer to that, don't you? Cookies. Cookies. Yeah. So, buy a copy from us. What else can the audience do for us? How about help support us by subscribing, right? Yeah. So how about you subscribe? And let me join him on this side. Subscribe. Over there. Subscribe. And we do a two-hand one together. We can subscribe. That's right. And what else does YouTube like besides subscribers? They like the likes, right? The thumbs up. So what do we have for the thumbs up? Your favorite part of the show, right? He's got the hots for the blonde. So let's show them the thumbs up girls. Thumbs up. Do 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 do. And what else? How about who are we sponsored by? It's not really sponsorship since we are, but it's sponsored by us. So we are Modesty Photography. That's right. Where we're here to show you tips and tricks. Trips. We're not going anywhere, but tricks to do with photography, things to help you out, especially you beginners out there. All you experts and whatever, probably rolling your eyes, even if you got this far through the video, you're probably saying, oh, he sucks.
It actually really, really sucks.
But, you know who you are, the armchair warriors. But anyway, for the rest of you, brought to you by Modesty Photography, right? Because we want you to come back next week, because as my motto goes as a teacher, you belong here. That's right. And where do they belong, mister? What's the name of our YouTube show? It is Camera Talk with Dr. Scott and Dylan. That's right. And Dylan. So come on back next week. Stay safe. Stay doing what you're doing, as long as it's not illegal. But if it is illegal, don't tell anybody and don't get caught. And come on back next week. So, you ready to say goodbye? I think that's all we need to say to them, right? That's all that's left. So, bye-bye.
Here I am in Vietnam.